Big shock. Jamie Dornan collapsed when he learned that Dakota Johnson reunited with Chris Martin. It was late, London quiet under the damp night after a light rain. Jamie Dornan sat in the living room of his small apartment, the yellow light flickering on his face, half dim, half bright. He held his phone in his hand, his heart pounding. Like many nights before, he was waiting to hear from Dakota. They hadn't spoken much in weeks, not because of any major argument, but because of the distance. Both were busy, she with her new film project, he with his shooting schedule and his little-known music project. They had promised to stay in touch, but life took its toll. The texts became fewer, the calls shorter, and finally silence. Jamie pursed his lips as he looked at his messaging inbox. Nothing new. He was about to turn off the light, go to bed, let it all go away, when the screen flickered. A notification. A friend sent you a message. He opened it, his heart stopping for a moment. A text from their mutual friend, unnamed. Jamie, I just heard from Dakota. She's back with Chris Martin. The phone felt like a ton in his hand. Jamie stared at the screen. Back. He let his vision blur, wondering, how, why. He jumped up, walked, touched the window, took a deep breath. He didn't want to believe it at the time, but his heart ached. The wound opened. The next day, Jamie went to film as usual. The lighting, the camera, the props, everything was mechanical. But inside, everything was a mess. He glanced at the script, but the words on the page floated like indistinct mist. He used his coffee mug to hold some weight between his hands. The scene was a love scene between his character and a female supporting character. When the camera rolled, the man had to bow his head and mumble an apology. He suddenly thought to himself, maybe he should bow his head, apologize to himself and Dakota, for letting things drag on for so long. The flow of the scene broke when Jamie stepped out of his role, telling the director to stop because something important happened. Just then, his phone rang, a call from another mutual friend, Alice. Jamie looked at the screen, his heart racing. He pressed, answer. Jamie. It's true, Alice said softly, her voice timid. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I heard from someone on Dakota's team. They saw her and Chris having dinner together last week. Jamie was silent. He felt a jolt of electricity run through him, a sharp pain in his chest. Alice, did she say anything to you? He tried to stay calm, but his voice was shaking. Not much, they just seemed really close. I'm sorry, Jamie. Alice hung up. Jamie looked out the window, eyes bleary. The rain continued to fall, each drop seeming to drip into his heart. He imagined Dakota and Chris sitting across from each other, the warm light, the soft chatter, the intimate smiles, the things he had hoped were meant only for him. He remembered their beginnings, the playful texts, the idle walks, the midnight exchanges, the genuine laughter. It all felt like a fragile dream. Now the image was shattered like broken glass. Jamie returned to the set, a wound in his heart that had yet to heal. He tried to work, but every glance from the cameraman, every microphone hanging from the ceiling, reminded him of something he could never undo. Emotional whirlpool. 2 days later, Jamie couldn't bear the pain anymore. He tried to contact Dakota, text, call, email, all to no avail. He stood in the middle of his apartment, looking around, soft pillows, warm lights, but everything was lifeless. He remembered her, not the famous friend, not the movie star out there, but Dakota, the way she laughed a little, the way she frowned when she thought, the way she tapped her fingers on the table when she was nervous. Little details that anyone else might miss, but he had engraved in his heart. He decided to find out more. Jamie tried contacting friends in the entertainment industry, asking for news. Some said they had heard Dakota and Chris are getting back together. One said there were pictures of a romantic evening, a snack out. No one confirmed it officially, but enough for a big rumor to spread. Jamie tried to tell himself, just a rumor. But inside, the wind of unease kept blowing. One night, he walked all over London, from Covent Garden to the banks of the Thames, under the dim street lights. The rain was falling lightly, and he was huddled in his long coat. He asked himself, why am I hurting so much? She has a choice, I can't control. But the heart knows no reason. He remembered Dakota once telling him, Jamie, everyone has a past. We can't force anyone to forget what they had. But if they choose to stay, then let them choose freely. At the time, he understood a little, but he was too young to absorb it. Now, he understood, but the price of this understanding was pain. In the middle of the night, he turned on his phone, intending to text Chris Martin, as a challenge, as a way to stop him, but then stopped. He didn't want to be a troublemaker. He wanted answers, but also wanted to be able to contain. He returned to the apartment, sat down on the sofa, turned on the gentle music station. The sad melodies gently crept into his heart. He comforted his head with his hands. Tears welled up. He didn't want to cry, but the feeling was too strong, the unexpected meeting. Jamie decided to fly to Los Angeles, where Dakota was filming an extra scene for a new movie. He hadn't told her. He wanted to face the truth himself. That afternoon, he arrived at the set. He heard footsteps, lights flashing, cameras clicking. He stood outside the door, looking across the break room window, and saw Dakota sitting, her head bowed. She was wearing a loose-fitting jacket and jeans, casual, not as flashy as on screen. In front of her was a cup of coffee and a few pages of the script. Jamie felt his heart sink. He walked in. She looked up, startled to see him. Jamie, she said, surprised. He looked at her, a long time. I came here to hear it from you, he said hoarsely. Dakota stood up, looking awkward, searching for an answer. Jamie, I didn't know you were coming. Okay, he interrupted. Can you answer? Are the rumors about you and Chris Martin true? She was silent for a moment, then said, Jamie, I don't want to hurt you. But the truth is, I saw Chris. We talked, but, getting back, I'm not sure. Her voice dropped. I'm so worried people will take it the wrong way. Jamie shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. I can't stand this ambiguity. If you don't want to be with me, just say so. I deserve to know. Dakota stepped closer, trying to stay calm. Jamie, I loved you so much. But when we were apart, I felt empty, lonely. Chris and we've been friends for a long time. There were times, when I was weak, I turned to him for support. She choked. But that doesn't mean I chose him. Jamie let out a harsh, bitter laugh. You said, come, as an option, as a safe place. He turned to look at her. Do you know how much it hurt me when I heard the news? Dakota was silent. Do you know how much I've thought about it, wondering if your messages were real, if your promises were real, if your smile for me was real? Jamie looked at her with a mixture of love, anger, hurt. I'm not asking you to choose me if your heart doesn't want me. But I hope you don't make me wait and then let go. Dakota stood still. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The cameraman outside was chattering, the lights were still flashing, but in that room, there were only the two of them and their unnamed emotions. Finally, Dakota said softly, Jamie, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, but I need time to understand my heart. Jamie bowed his head, pressing his lips together. Time. I've given you plenty of time. He turned away and walked to the door. Before he left, he choked out, I hope you're happy, no matter who it is. The storm in his heart. Jamie returned to London. On the flight, he looked out the window, down at the swirling clouds, feeling like he was sinking to the bottom of the water. The feeling of emptiness spread. He lay in the cabin, eyes closed, but Dakota's image was still clear, her bewildered face, her eyes filled with tears. When he got home, he slammed the door shut, fell flat on the bed. He pulled out his phone, intending to delete her from his contacts, delete all the messages, delete the pictures, but then stopped. He couldn't do it. Every memory was like a wound, painful but still his. The next day, he met a close friend, Mark. They sat at a small cafe. Mark looked at Jamie, saw that he was pale. What's wrong, Jamie? Mark asked. Jamie put his hand on the coffee cup, looked at the steam rising. I heard Dakota got back together with Chris. He looked down. I don't know how much to believe, but it hurts. Mark was silent, then said, have you talked to Dakota? Yes, she said she wasn't sure, but she's met Chris. Jamie's voice was hoarse. I don't know what to do next. Mark put his hand on his friend's shoulder. Jamie, you need to hold on to me. You can't keep hurting me. Whatever the outcome, you have to live for yourself first. If Dakota chooses to leave, she has the right. You have the right to leave, too. Jamie looked at Mark, eyes red. His friend was right, he had to live for himself. But how could he forget?